And I'm very pleased to introduce our guest presenter for the county, Dr. Michael Fleischmann. And, you know, he has done a previous presentation for us, which was very well received, and we really focused on band directors for that one. You know, we're 6 months or better into this process of distance learning. The technology is really the thing that many people, including myself, struggle with. And so I thought it would be great to have him present countywide and to any teacher who cares to participate on some of the great strategies he's using to classroom management and to presenting and teaching and so forth. So I actually, after I ran through the presentation with him, went and Flipgrid and learned Padlet. So I think it's extremely worthwhile. So we'll go ahead and take it away. And I just mentioned before, we are recording this. It will be up on the Arts webinar site sometime later in October, and we will be able to send you the slides. So if we're moving fast, you can come back to it. And it looks like you have a, well, I'll let you explain. Okay, so let's have Michael take it away. Yay!
Hi, everybody. It's good to see everybody, some familiar faces here. I do encourage you to follow along. If you do have a smartphone, you can also do this, scan the QR code. And I've also pasted the link in the chat. So please do follow along. Oh, where's my, there we go. So I call this best practices with a question mark because, you know, everyone does their own thing. I happen to be a music teacher, but I think that a lot of these things will help you regardless of what content area you are in. So I encourage you to follow along with this resource. I'll have the link at the on every slide that you can follow along. And today is more about just kind of opening a lot of doors and just showing you what's out there and some ideas. Not so much about how to do everything. If we did the how to do everything, we'd be here for like 3 hours. So the idea is here's a resource, go play in the sandbox when we're done kind of thing. And feel free to interact with the links and explore. That's kind of the whole point. So if you are following along, the first thing you want to do is make a copy of this, and you're going to want your students to do this as well when you're sharing content with them. So in Google, if you haven't already done this, you can go to File at the top, make a copy, and then select Entire Presentation, and you have your own copy of this that will save in your drive that you are now the owner of, and you can now make your own notes on if you'd like. And I'm going to keep moving, but in the interest of time. There's also another trick to do this. You can, if you're sharing links with students, anything in a Google Slides, document, anything, if you go to that really long URL, you find the word edit. And if you change that word edit to copy, it will, when you share that link, when it says copy, it will force copy for whoever uses it. So that way students can access your stuff. It'll automatically make their own copy for them. Google forces it so that they can't edit your stuff, and then they're owners of it. So that's just a little trick you can use and go back to if you'd like with your students. The first half of my presentation is really about Google Classroom and trying to make distance learning more palatable for students, and just some organizational tips that I've kind of learned over the years as an online student myself. And the first thing that I realized was the stream was like overwhelmingly, every time I posted something, it was really unruly. So in the Google Classroom settings, and I don't have a slide showing you where that is, I'm sorry, but in the settings for Google Classroom for each of your classes, there's a setting that says hide notifications. And that will actually allow your stream, when you go into Google Classroom, be more of an announcements page rather than just, you know, every time you update something. I actually use it for students as a space for them to I do like a question of the day thing there, something silly that I'll show you later, but I use that as kind of like a social space for the students, and I moderate it kind of, but it's just a place for them to be kids. And that's kind of what I use that stream for. But if you hide notifications in the stream, it'll clean that up a lot for you and your students. Another thing that I learned in Google was cleaning up my inbox in my Gmail, because with Google Classroom you get tons of emails. So and so resubmitted this. There's a private comment for this. There's a, you know, this was turned in late. There's a really great way to filter all of that stuff out of your mailbox so that you don't see it, and you can make labels for those things. And I'm embarrassed to say that probably some of these are up to like 600 unread things, but the thing is, I don't need to read them, right? If I need to find them, I can, but it actually keeps them out of my inbox, so I don't see those things. Those things get shuffled somewhere else. There is a great video tutorial here that I've linked. It's about 7 minutes long, and if you are on Twitter, I would recommend following Alice Keeler, and she made this video. She is the Google guru. If you don't know her stuff, if you just search her name, Alice Keeler, she's in this video. She has all sorts of great tips about Google. So this is something I did, and this changed my life. But you can kind of see her go through this another time. So clean up your inbox; it'll change your life, I promise. And then in my Classwork tab, I do most of my work in the Classwork tab of Google Classroom. You have a stream, Classwork, people, and grades. So I always direct my students to go to Classwork. And I always have at the very top of Classwork, I have a tab or a topic called resources. And I keep these at the top so that students always know where to go to find things. So you could see these are some things I have here. My Zoom link, a link to my office hours, a link to my need help desk. So things that if they ever need me as a resource, they can always find those things at the very top of Google Classroom, so they don't have to go search for things. How to reset your Chromebooks, my music community for Flipgrid, daily resources, stuff that we access daily. I just keep all of that at the very top. And an example of what that might look like, for my Zoom link, I have my link pasted here, the password, the meeting ID. I've created in Google Calendar, there's an office hours capability where students can go to your scheduling link and book an appointment. With your office hours, there's a way to set that up. I don't actually have that in this presentation, but there is a way to do that in Google. And then also some other resources like leaving a private Flipgrid message. And then at the bottom, I'll add those links so that they can click it here. It's interactive. They can click the hyperlink, or they can go into Google Classroom under that tab and they can click a little button for it. So I kind of do it in 2 different places for them just to make it easier. I teach middle school kids, so if it's not, right over the plate, it's a disaster. So everything's got to be as, easy as possible for them. So that's the first thing in Google Classroom is organizing things with a resources tab at the top. Then after that, I'll organize a topic, and there's a lot of debate about this on various forums, but I'll have a topic for each week. And people are wondering, what's the best way to organize things? So I recommend doing your resources tab at the top and whatever your current week is at the bottom. So this is a snapshot of like what week 2 might look like. So I have my topic, which is the week, and then under that, I'll always have a Start Here tab, which has like the basic procedures and announcements for the week. And I'll show you what that looks like on the next slide. And then also I'll have some things, all the assignments, all the little tasks that they need to do. Now this might take them like 2 minutes or 30 seconds. It might be classwork, but I still put it here so that they can find it. I put everything in order that they have to do it in. So this is what a typical week might look like in my Google Classroom of how to organize it. Whenever you assign something, I would recommend that you have a how to turn in work slide, because for some reason turning in work in Google Classroom is the most mysterious thing on the planet for middle school students and high school students alike. For some reason you never know what you're going to get. So I created a slide that you can copy and paste into any of your slides presentations, or you can duplicate it, whatever you want to do with it. But this is an example of something I might attach to every assignment so that they can see how to turn in their work. Here are the instructions. Here's a little picture of what to do. Here's how to turn it in. Here's a video showing how to do it. If the video's not working, here's the step-by-step online in Google Help. So this one slide is something that I include on all of my assignments just in case, as something that you can attach to any assignment in Google Classroom. Oh, I should mention, if you click on this link, it will take you to a Google Slides that actually has a lot of slides on it. Various ways to turn in work in Flipgrid, and here's how to do it with an MP3, here's how to do it with a link, here's how to do it. So I'll kind of pick and choose the slides I need, and I'll attach those. So you have access to that. I'm happy to share that. So this is an example of my Start Here tab in Google Classroom of what it might look like. Every week I'll have this at the top. It's just information. I'll always have a video tour where I'll do basically what we're doing right now. I'll record myself, I'll record my screen and say, hey folks, this is what we're doing this week. And I'll kind of scroll through Google Classroom and say, this is due Monday, and to do this, don't forget to attach this. And I'll do a quick 2 to 3 minute video on this is what we're doing this week. I'll put that at the top. I'll have the procedures. This is what we're doing each day in class, some reminders, and then some basic goals and objectives. But I'll use this template for every week as a start here so that students and parents, if they go into Google Classroom, they can see in one place, here's what we're doing. So this might help organize your students a little bit better with, what do we do? Which is always a challenge. I found over the years also that YouTube playlist, over the years, I should say since last year, I used to always attach a ton of things to my materials and my assignments in Google Classroom. And what I learned was you can only do like 20 attachments, which sounds like a lot, but if you're teaching instruments like I do, you've got, if you're posting something, you got to post something for the flutes and something for the clarinets and something for the saxophones. And pretty quickly, those resources blow up if they're videos and you run out of posting room. I recommend using playlists in YouTube. That way you can just post one link, boom, and then you can cram like as many videos as you want onto that one link as an attachment. And I use videos a lot. We're going to get into that in a bit. There's a link here on how to make playlists for YouTube. I think that's been a savior of mine this year, especially with all the demonstration videos of how to do this and how to do that. And so playlists, really good way to organize your stuff for your students. Weekly topics. I always try to keep the resources at the top and then the weekly topic, whatever week we're in, next. And then I'll just shuffle everything else below that. So I try to keep everything in reverse order. And then I also mentioned that I use in my Google Stream, I'll do a question of the day just to have nothing to do with my content. Things like, is a hot dog a sandwich? Or what's the one inanimate object you wish you could get rid of? And I have one of these for every day of the week, literally. And I have a link to that document if you want to borrow them as conversation starters, have at it. But that's something I might do in my stream just to get the students kind of like little icebreakers, I guess. And bookmarking. Bookmarking folders, if you're like me, you start school every day and you get into Google Chrome and you're opening this tab and 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 you're searching for this, searching for that. If you put everything in one folder and you command click it, it'll open all the tabs all at once. It's like magic. So this is a little hack video I made for you to show you how to do that. And again, these are just little things to make your life easier in using Google Classroom and Google Chrome. And I know we're going fast, but again, today is just about kind of showing you some things that are out there, and then you can kind of go back to this to kind of get into how to do it. So I'll take a quick pause for questions on Google Classroom, because the rest of the time I'm going to spend on these 5 tools. So I wanted to take a pause and a breath for all that stuff I just showed you in Google Classroom, some things that I've learned over the years. If there are questions, you can put them in the chat, and I'm happy to try to address them. Some of us might still be trying to get on the link. Right?
You're modeling good wait time.
Yeah, you always use good wait time. Okay, thank you for finding Alice Keeler. I appreciate that. Yeah, her stuff is amazing. Okay, great. So from here on out, I'm going to introduce 5 tools. And I think that keeping in mind that if we use 5 tools and our other teachers that students have are using 5 tools, you know, sometimes there may be some overlap, but our students are trying to use like now 20 tools or something based on whatever teacher they have. So I realize there are a ton of things out there for us to use, and I try to narrow it down to my top 5, like the top 5 things I use pretty consistently that I think narrow things down that I can do pretty much everything in. And I think that most of my teachers on my site are also using a lot of these as well. So I wanted to go through Screencastify, Flipgrid, Padlet, Google Slides, and Google Forms. So we'll start with Screencastify and give you guys some ideas on how to use these things too. You'll have some sandbox time to kind of play around in these, which is what I wanted to leave enough time for. All right, Screencastify. Actually, if you could, click your participants button. Do we have the capability for people to click green yes? Oh, we don't have them. They're not able to do the yes or no thing. Can you raise your hands? Do we have that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, there we go. Raise your hand if you use Screencastify or if you know it. And you could do the raise hand button so we can see. Yeah, sorry, on the participants window. Okay, so it looks like a couple of you have that. All right, or know what it is. Screencastify is also like Loom, and then there's another one out there that name escapes me, but it's great for flipped classroom stuff. It's great for making demo videos. It's a Google Chrome extension that allows you to record your screen and allows you to record everything you do on your screen. It's great for demonstration videos because you've got students who might miss class and they need to know how to, okay, well, how do I insert a photo in Google Slides? Okay, well, I can make a quick 30-second video of me doing that on my screen, and now my student has that capability of watching it as many times as they want in the flipped classroom model. So we've probably heard about the flipped classroom thing. I think now more than ever, this is really important that we include a lot of demonstration videos on how we do these skills. So what it does is it allows you to record yourself. You can have a little talking head in the bottom of the box, or you can not do that. It's up to you. There's a free version that allows you to record, I think it's up to 4 or 5 minutes at a time. I use this so much, I just sprung for the 49 bucks and got the unlimited. I think it's worth it. I use it so much. It's super easy. As soon as you record a video, it automatically syncs it to your Google Drive. So as soon as you record a video, it's automatically a video that you can now share with your students through Google Classroom. You can attach it really easily in Google Classroom. You can also upload it to YouTube with a click. This thing integrates really well with everything. And I know that Loom is a comparable product as well, but it pretty much does that. So if you don't use Screencastify, get Loom or something like this. This just happens to be the one that I like. And I'm a music teacher, so these are some examples of what I use it for. How to put instruments together, how to perform this, how to demonstrate this, modeling technique. So I know that our art teachers are using Screencastify a lot to model all sorts of things. It allows you also to use your webcam, so it can just make a video. You could just use it as a webcam, as like a document camera, basically. And I left a couple examples of how I use Screencastify. I have a playlist of my lesson demos, so if a student misses class, they can see what they missed. Also, my welcome tour, like my week 2, this is what we're doing. Intro videos are all on here on this playlist. I also have a whole playlist of what I call my students the how do I do it videos, which I'm continuing to add to, so it's getting pretty lengthy. I might need to make another one. But it's just basic skills. Some of them are like 30 seconds, some of them are 2 minutes, some of them are 3 minutes, of all various skills. So you might find that fascinating if you want to learn how to do certain things in Google Slides or in the Google Suite. But they are music related because these are the actual demos I use with my students. So you're free to look at those and kind of see how I'm using screencastify on your own time and check those out. The other one that I'm using a lot is called Flipgrid. So in the participants window, click that raise hand button if you've used Flipgrid. Okay, we've got a few. Yeah. All right. So we're maybe half-half. All right. Flipgrid is a really cool collaborative tool. It allows students to record themselves. So instead of take a break from typing and let them use their cell phones and just, hey, instead of taking a test on this, why don't you just like explain how this works in your own words? And they can customize these videos. They can edit. They have capability of editing it. I think it's good for introverts and extroverts because it allows them to do multiple takes. They can put a little sticker on their face if they don't want to see their face. They can just kind of isolate the audio only if they're self-conscious about how they look on video. But I think extroverts like this as well because they can customize it with all sorts of things. I use this for discussions and also for students to introduce themselves, where I know we're way into the year past introductions. But here's how, oh, that should say topics. I need to edit that. But I'm going to let you guys have about 5 minutes to play on this. I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. Oops, wait. Here's 5 minutes. And feel free, I'm going to put this in the chat as well. That's what a group looks like. This should say topic or group. That changed. And here's what a topic looks like, so what a student might see. So I'm just going to put 5 minutes on the clock here and let you guys mess with Flipgrid a little bit. And I'll stay behind for questions, so if you want to go to Flipgrid, do that. Or if you have questions in the chat, now's a good time to do that, but go explore. And again, I'm here for questions if you have them. And we got a little under 3 minutes left. We'll bring it back if you can hear me.
Quick question, if you do not mind. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm just curious. Can you be in a Google Meet and be on Flipgrid at the same time?
That I don't know.
Because
I don't use we don't use Google Meet, so I don't know the answer to that.
Or how about a Zoom? Can you be on a Zoom?
Yeah.
Can your camera be on in a meeting or forum like this, and you work on a Flipgrid at the same time?
What I might do is something similar to right now is send my students to a Flipgrid. They would mute their microphone on Zoom, and that would enable them to use their microphone on Flipgrid. I will mention this when everyone's back, or when we are all back, is that Flipgrid works really well on smartphones. I actually think it works better on smartphones than it does on Chrome. So it's not an issue for them to, if they have a phone with them, they can use it pretty easily. Most of them do. But if not, if their microphone's not being used by Zoom, or I assume Google Meets, they should be able to do a Flipgrid video in class if you wanted them to do that.
Do you have any difficulties whether you're on Firefox versus Chrome?
I think these things all play better with Chrome. I don't know Firefox very well. I know that Safari is kind of problematic, and I'm a Mac user, so Safari it's not incompatible, but it works best with Google Chrome. These things are all meant to work well with Chrome, and I don't know about Firefox.
Right now it's not working, and I'm kind of leaning to thinking it's a Firefox thing. So I've had something similar happen where it wouldn't work on Firefox, but I tried it on Google Chrome and it worked fine.
Yeah.
But right now the Flipgrid isn't working for me.
Huh.
Oh, let's try this again.
Oh, I see. You're getting logged in as a teacher.
Oh, because I'm logging in with my school ID, probably.
Oh, maybe that's why. Yeah, I think I thought that this was set so that it would just send you there.
Oh, sorry.
Well, that's okay.
It's the habit. Whenever I see that, sign in with Google, I push that so I don't have to fill stuff out.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. We're out of time. We're gonna move on, but but yeah, at least you got a chance to explore. Some of you know Flipgrid, some of you that might be new, but it works really well with phones, I've found. And you can send video responses back to your students, just a really quick, like a little headshot saying, hey, yeah, that was, I agree, or, nice to meet you, or, whatever. So you're giving video. It's a little bit more human interaction than just the normal screen stuff that we're used to. So here are some examples of things that I might use Flipgrid for. It integrates really well with Google Classroom. Students are able to actually download their responses as video links and turn them in as videos. So if they're doing a project and you want them to record something with their phones or record something with their screen, it allows you to actually students to do a screen recording. I've had them do that. There are a lot of great applications for it. So this is Flipgrid. I like it. Some applications as a music teacher, making videos, community forums. I use it also as a help check-in so that if students are having a problem, they can record their screen and show me this is not working. And there's a setting in there that allows you to moderate it as private so that when they post something, it's not like the whole class sees it, only I see it. So it's private unless I release it to everybody else. So there are all sorts of bells and whistles and applications for Flipgrid. My next favorite thing, I don't know, it's kind of a tie for first. I think Padlet right now is probably my favorite collaborative tool for in-class discussions. In place of, where you might just ask questions and go around the room, and instead of going to each student and saying, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? It takes forever. Here, I can just put a collaborative document on the screen and students can just add to it all at the same time. And we can have what might be like a 20-minute discussion in like 3 minutes where people just collaborate. I'll put a song on, I'll put a piece of music on for like 3 minutes and say you got to the end of the song to make your posts. It's a great tool. The unlimited subscription is $99 a year, which I'm going to use. The school site licenses are available called Padlet Backpack, and it's $1,500 for an entire school site. There are district packages. I don't know how much they are, but you get, I think with a free subscription, you can create 4 Padlets or like 4 like separate discussion links on your own. I'm going to give you again another 5 minutes to kind of explore. There are different configurations, and this will make sense when you actually go in and look at the links. But one of my favorite things is the Canvas configuration, where you can, I'll let you guys just kind of make some posts. Actually here, I can kind of show you. You can connect things, draw lines to things, and connect. This idea relates to this. Here, we'll do that. To make a post, you can just double click. You can add things like videos, you can add GIFs, you can add images. If you do a Google search for, let's say someone put a Rickroll there, so I can find a video of that and post it. I can find a GIF of that and post it. It's really cool. So I'll let you guys explore. There are different configurations that I use for in-class discussions. And Padlet also has, sorry, you can't see that because this thing is coming up. But I'll let you guys take 5 minutes and kind of look in Padlet and check that out. So I'll put 5 minutes back on the clock. I'm here for questions again, and have fun going in to look at those. And again, these are my top 3 favorites. There we go. Oh, I forgot to set the timer. There we go. I also like when you try to make a comment, it filters profanity out. So try that and see what happens if you want to comment on something with profanity. Whoops. Oh, I lost my timer. Oh well, here. Here's Shannon. I'm gonna, that's one link. These are all hyperlinks. They should go from the, there's another one. I lost my timer on the screen, so I'm going to go 2 minutes left, I guess. And I can actually see your posts in real time. I can watch this populate. So I can actually see these things pop up with my class. And let's start to bring it back in. Go ahead, yeah.
Do the students' names show up as anonymous, or do they show up with their names?
Great question. Okay, if they're logged in, if they create a free account, it'll have their names. Great question. So if they're not logged in, it'll just say anonymous. So I make my students log in. You can make a setting on here, kind of going a little off script, but that's okay. This is really important. Attribution will take the author's name on or off. So you can make things completely anonymous by changing this setting here. You can see my name here kind of shifts on and off. So you can change the settings for that, but yeah, they'll see your name if they have an account and log in, and it's free. It takes like 30 seconds. Great question. And I use this just today. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, does it let the facilitator see the names, or does it wipe them out for everybody?
I think that's a good question too. I actually don't know. I think it's all or nothing.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Like if you wanted to give students credit for doing it, but you don't want them to be, you want them to be anonymous to their peers. There's
sure.
not.
There might be a way to do that.
I can play with it. It's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know. But I used this just today where I played a piece of music and I said, okay, find some pictures that you think go with this. And I played like Edvard Grieg's Morning. So they were finding GIFs of sunrises and like, landscapes and everything. And I could watch all these pictures pop up in real time. It was really cool. So that's a great tool for projects, presentations, using the shelf thing I like. Is like, okay, you're group 1. So you guys work on this one. You guys, group 2, work on this one. Group 3 work, you can assign group work and say, you guys stay in this stream or this shelf stream, whatever. I love this. And then my favorite, I actually posted this on another forum, which is a flow chart of, should I send the email asking why do I have an F? And so there's a whole flow chart here. You can, it's pretty dark humor. It's a bit smart. It's a little snarky, but anyway, you can connect things, make a flow chart. You can look at that on your own time, but that's one of my recent examples. Okay, so Google Slides. We have 2 more of these left. Google Slides and Google Forms. Can you hit that participants button? And if you can click that raise hand button if you use Google Slides a lot. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of hands go up. Yeah. Okay, cool. I just started using Google Slides in like May. Like I just got new to this, but man, I love this now. I was kind of like, well, I know PowerPoint. What do I need slides for? But I have discovered, I've seen the light. I think that there are a lot of great applications for Google Slides. A lot of those virtual classrooms that people are doing, those are all Google Slides, like escape rooms, things like that. And I've included some examples here. I'm not going to open them up, but these are examples of projects that I've created based in Google Slides. And some of these are long-term projects, like a little presentation. So you can kind of check those out to see some examples of some things that I've used with Google Slides for. I know that there's a lot of things out there, a lot of questions about like, how do I make PDFs fillable and things like that? Well, if you take a screenshot of your Google slide and you make it the background, now it's basically like a fillable PDF. And you can make drag and drop worksheets like that, where you basically make the background of the slide the unchangeable screenshot. You take a picture of the slide and then make that the background. Virtual classrooms. Okay, this is a great webinar I've linked here. It's like 2 hours. It's so long, but it was a webinar on how to make virtual classrooms, which was a big rage back in like, May or June or whenever this took place. I watched like the first 40 minutes of this, and it was just basically, here's how to use Google Slides, and here's how to do all the things in Google Slides. And I think if nothing else, if you watch the first 30, 40 minutes of this video, you're going to be like a Google Slides pro. And then the rest of it was about the virtual classroom thing, which I kind of checked out because I decided I wasn't really interested in doing that. But if you are, do it. Great. It's just not my thing. But like I have my, for instance, I have my lesson plans for the day on Google Slides, and it's the same link. So my students can see every day what we're doing, and it's the same link. I just update it so my students keep going to the same link. And here's my lesson plan for today. And I go through everything. So this is like what I did today in class. And this link, I'll update it tomorrow with my new lesson plans. So this is kind of like what I project on the screen. I think Slides is great. So get on the Slides train. You won't be sorry. The last thing I have for you is Google Forms. So can we get one more poll here? How many of you, and if you go to participants and then click that raise hand button, how many of you are using Google Forms a lot? As a high school teacher, I used to teach high school, and as a high school teacher, I use this all the time. I don't use it as much anymore. Cool. Yeah, I use it now mostly for exit tickets and things like that. But it's basically a survey tool. It also is a great way to give tests, multiple choice tests. It'll self-grade the tests. It'll give you all the answers back and grade it for you. It's a great way to gather data and see like pie charts and all sorts of things. But it's a data gathering thing if you haven't used it before. So you can see, I have two links here for you. The first one, here's how it works. This is I've made a Google form about Google Forms. So this is kind of a behind the scenes, like this is how it works, and this is what a picture looks like, and this is kind of like the student view. Now, admittedly, this is super congested because it's here's a question and here's how to make the question picture. So here's what you see as the teacher. So I'll let you go through this and explore this on your own. If you're not familiar with Google Forms, I'll put that in the chat. Go ahead and go through the form, enter all the stuff, and you can kind of see what it looks like from a student end, from the experience of the student taking it, and kind of what it does. So I'll put 5 minutes here on the clock, let you guys kind of mess around with that a little bit. And we'll wrap up with plenty of time for questions, it looks like. That's kind of like a self-guided, here's what you can do with Google Forms thing. Ooh, good question. The timer in the slide. This is a YouTube video. I just did a search in YouTube for a 5-minute timer, copied the URL, and inserted it as a video here. So I can go 5-minute timer. And then there it is. I just insert it, select, and now it's a video. I just made it tiny. I also just stopped my timer when I did that. So here, Here, I'll add I'll add some time on my analog one. Or maybe I can skip ahead actually here. There we go. Oh no, here. There. I can control the time here by just skipping ahead in the video too. How about that? Import the grades from forms into Google Classroom. There's a way to do that. I don't do it. I actually don't use Google Forms for tests anymore. I end up hand doing the grades myself. It's just, I don't know. There is a way to do it. I don't know how. I'm sure if you search the Google forums, there's a way to do it. But I hand grade everything and I hand input test stuff. So I'm not really using forms for that anymore. Sorry, but I think there is a way that you can like save it as like a certain format and then upload it to the gradebook, and it was too much gymnastics for me. I thought it was easier to enter them by hand. Yeah, CVS file, exactly. Yeah, the data from the forms and the test scores go directly into Google Forms, so and I would just input them by hand from there. Let's take about 1 more minute on the form, and then we'll wrap up with some time for questions. Yeah, there is a way. If you export the data as a CVS file, like an LMS like Aries should import it. Import the grades, but it's like the names of the students and the student ID numbers all have to match up and be there. If you've got a class of like 30 students, I think it's quicker just to input them by hand, but that's just me. But there is a way to do it. Okay, let's start wrapping up, and I'll show you the behind the scenes. If you click on this, it should make a forced copy, kind of bringing it home here with where we started with that forced copy thing. So what I did was I changed in the URL, I changed the link to where it says edit to copy, and it'll make your own copy. So you can do whatever you want with this and it'll be yours. It won't mess up my stuff. So you can see from the teacher's end what this looks like and how I made it. And you can see what it looks like to actually build it. 0 responses, but that's okay. So yeah, I obviously made this for music teachers, but there's all sorts of stuff you can do with this, and this is kind of a behind the scenes look of how to build it with all the various bells and whistles and all that. So have fun with Google Forms. I think it's a great tool. Some things I use it for, my exit tickets, I'll do once a week for my students, like an exit ticket. As a band director, instrument inventory, I'll just take like my tablet or my phone and go around the room, open the instrument, enter the data, hit send, and then I'll go to the next one, and then just go to so I'll do my own inventory that way. Quizzes, We talked about awards, like a voting ballot. And here's an example of one I used a while ago. Student leadership applications, teacher recommendations, where, you know, if you got a student trying out for some sort of leadership role, you can have the teachers fill out this form about them. T-shirt sizes, there's all sorts of stuff. Anything that you can do with paperwork, you can do with a Google form. So all sorts of great applications for this that you can check out if you'd like. And that's it. That's all I have to show you, which is a lot.